All right, we are on page 73. I'm just going to start at the beginning of the paragraph that if you want to gain momentum. Okay, let me start the timer real quick. Okay, if you want to gain momentum and improve your motivation, begin by setting goals that are worthwhile but highly achievable. Master the basics, then practice them every day without fail. Small disciplines repeated with consistency every day lead to great achievements gained slowly over time. This is an especially good idea to implement when reading a book. In fact, when I wrote 25 Ways to Win with People, I suggested that readers working on their people skills practice one of 25 skills each week. It creates an easy way to make progress doing something simple day by day. It took me a long time to realize or to believe that small, simple things every day made a difference. My brain did not want to hold on to that. I was like, no, that doesn't make a difference. But now I totally believe it. If you want to grow, don't try to win big, try to win small. Andrew Wood asserted, where many people go wrong in trying to reach their goals is in constantly looking for the big hit, the home run, the magic answer that suddenly transforms their dreams into reality. The problem is that the big hit never comes without a great deal of little hits first. Success in most things comes not from some gigantic stroke of fate, but from simple incremental progress. So true. Be patient. When I give the advice to be patient, I am the person who most needs to take it. As I mentioned in the last chapter, impatience is one of my greatest weaknesses. I think it comes from having unrealistic expectations for myself and for others. Everything I want to do takes longer than I anticipate. Every endeavor I lead is more difficult than I believed it would be. Every project I attempt costs more than I expected. Every task I hand off to another person is more complicated than I hoped. Some days I believe that patience is a minor form of despair disguised as virtue. Ooh, I gotta read that one again. Some days I believe that patience is a minor form of despair disguised as a virtue. Interesting. I'm not alone in this. If you're an American, as I am, you may agree that as a culture, we have a problem with patience. So true. We want everything fast. We live in a country with fast food restaurants and fast weight loss clinics. How ironic. Persian poet Saadi instructed, have patience. All things are difficult before they become easy. That's wise advice. Most people never realize how close they are to achieving significant things because they give up too soon. Everything worthwhile in life takes dedication and time. The people who grow and achieve the most are the ones who harness the power of patience and persistence. Value the process. One of the best things you can do for yourself as a learner is to cultivate the ability to value and enjoy the process of growth. It is going to take a long time, so you might as well enjoy the journey. Several years ago, I was having dinner with my friends Vern and Charlene Armitage. Charlene is a successful life coach who works with many clients. I asked what she focused on when coaching. Her answer highlighted the importance of the process that people must develop in order to grow and change the direction of their lives. She said, life goals are reached by setting annual goals. Annual goals are reached by reaching daily goals. Daily goals are reached by doing things which may be uncomfortable at first, but eventually become habits. Habits are powerful things. Habits turn actions into attitudes, and attitudes into lifestyles. Ooh, that's a good quote. You can visualize tomorrow using it as motivation to grow. But if you want to actually grow, your focus needs to be on today. If you value today and find a way to enjoy it, you will invest in today. And the small steps you take today will lead to the bigger steps you take someday. In their book, The Answers, Jack and Susie Welch, in their book, Winning the Answers, Jack and Susie Welch assert too many people believe that one big public success will solve their self-confidence problems forever. That only happens in the movies. In real life, the opposite strategy is what works. Call it the small victories approach. They go on to describe Jack's first experience as a speaker. Even with detailed notes and lots of practice, the 15-minute effort was a disaster. So he made it his goal to improve incrementally, which he accomplished by valuing the process. Instead of letting fear or failures overwhelm him, he stared defeat in the face, figured out what went wrong, set a new goal, and started again. They explain, in time you will discover that all failing really does teach you something you needed to know. So you can regroup and stretch again with ever more nerve. The strategy has paid off. Today, they write, answering questions without notes in front of thousands of people is the opposite of nerve wracking. It's fun. That kind of progress cannot happen if you don't value the process. Number 3, do you know why you want to keep improving? Knowing what to improve and how to improve are critical to consistency and personal growth. But so is knowing why. The how and what will take you only so far. The why is what keeps you motivated long after that first rush of energy and enthusiasm wears off. It can carry you through when willpower isn't enough. Think of it as why power. I love the story of the salesman who looked out the window of the hotel restaurant at a blinding snowstorm. He asked his waiter, "Do you think the roads will be clear enough in the morning to travel?" The waiter replied, "Depends on if you're on salary or commission." Having a strong why will help you to keep going when the discipline of learning becomes difficult, discouraging, or tedious. If your growth is connected to your values, dreams, and purpose, you'll know why you're doing it, and you will be more likely, to follow through. One of the ways to judge whether you have tapped into your whys is to take what my friend Mike Murdoch calls the why test. Your answers to the following 7 questions will let you know if your why is solid enough to motivate you to consistently grow. Question 1. Do you constantly procrastinate on important tasks? Question 2. Do you require coaxing to do small chores? Question 3. Do you perform duties just to get by? Question 4. Do you constantly talk negatively about your work? Question 5. Do efforts of friends to encourage you irritate you instead? Question 6. Do you start small projects and abandon them? Question 7. Do you avoid self-improvement opportunities? If you answer yes to many of these questions, you haven't tapped into a strong enough or big enough why to keep you growing. When I was a child, my mom continually gave me whys to keep me going. She would say things like, "If you eat your vegetables, you can have dessert." She knew I needed to know the benefits of eating vegetables when I didn't want to do it. That kind of training set me up for success because I started to learn the relationship between motivation and discipline. If you think about it, you can see that discipline and motivation are 2 sides of the same coin. If you have the motivation you need, discipline is no problem. If you lack motivation, discipline is always a problem. You have to give yourself more and bigger whys so you can keep wanting to put in the effort to grow. In my book, Put Your Dream to the Test, I teach that the more valid reasons you have to achieve your dream, the higher the odds are that you will. That principle is also true of growth. The greater number of reasons you give yourself to grow, the more likely you will be to follow through. Of course, in certain circumstances, one really compelling why can also be enough, as Kenyan world-class runner Bernard Kiplagat demonstrated when he was interviewed during the Sydney Olympics. He was asked how his country was able to produce so many great distance runners. His answer? It's the road signs. Beware the lions. Legendary NFL coach Vince Lombardi said, "Once you learn to quit, it becomes a habit. If giving up has become a habit for you, then I suggest you take the advice of my friend Darren Hardy, who wrote a wonderful book called The Compound Effect. In it, he writes, the compound effect is the principle of reaping huge rewards from a series of small, smart choices. What's most interesting about this process to me is that even though the results are massive, the steps in the moment don't feel significant. Whether you're using this strategy for improving your health, relationships, finances, or anything else for that matter, the changes are so subtle they're almost imperceptible. These small changes offer little or no immediate result, no big win, no obvious "I told you so" payoff. So why bother? Most people get tripped up by the simplicity of the compound effect. For instance, they quit after the eighth day of running because they're still overweight, or they stop practicing the piano after 6 months because they haven't mastered anything other than chopsticks. Or they make, or sorry, hold on. Or they stop making contributions to their IRA after a few years because they could use the cash, and it doesn't seem to be adding up to much anyway. What they don't realize is that these small, seemingly insignificant steps completed consistently over time will create a radical difference. I'm just going to read this last section to get to number 4. When you make the right choices, however small, and do it consistently over time, it can make a huge difference in your life. If you remember why you're making those choices, it becomes easier. I feel like this is like probably the most important thing in the whole book. I bet I say that every day. But seriously, small and simple, small and simple. And our brain fights it because it's like, it's not worth it. It's not doing anything. So true. Any comments to add, April?
No, not today.
Okay. Thanks for hopping on. Such a good chapter. Reading section.